Hi, welcome to another episode of our Barn Banter where we're taking a trip down um, several memory lanes with clients who had ridden with us throughout the time that Brent and I have been married. And today we're fortunate enough to have um, Katie Plassmeier, Katie Campbell. I'm sure many of you that watched us show when Katie was in youth thought that she was our child, not our niece, but she's one of the few students that really didn't have a choice of who she had to ride with.
Debatable.
She she has been a part of our lives and our horse program for
32 years.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Katie was actually, and her mother was pregnant with her when we got married. So we can always remember how old she is because it's the number of years that we've been married.
Yep.
So,
Damn, you're old.
I know
Tell me about
that
it.
I know that our discussion about Katie could go on forever because there's just certain things that happen that all make me remember certain things about Katie and certain things that are special memories, certain things that are funny and not special memories. But Katie, you know, if you were to reminisce about your experience showing horses, what are the top things that come to your mind?
A couple of the top things that probably come to my mind is just standing around on your horse, waiting for your class, and the conversations you have with people on the ring side. You were competitors inside the ring, but you were also then friends sitting outside, and it didn't really even matter your age with some people. There was several people that I remember growing up showing that they were always at ringside that I remember specifically having great memories for me. Probably one of my favorite memories that was the funniest was a barn memory, actually. It happened in Oklahoma, and there happened to be maybe a Oreo incident involved with somebody choosing to eat some Oreos. That'll always come up even to this day with not being in horses. When I see Oreos, I immediately think of that memory. The other memory that's probably one of the ones that will always stick out is it actually was at the APHA World Show. Two memories come of that. First was leading up to that, all of the time you and I spent in the arena working on patterns, and then going to work at Oklahoma or to Fort Worth with you out in the arena, and just how hot and sweaty and how much I just wanted to be done. But I remember making it to the finals and just the sheer joy of making it, only to have Biff decide to poop at the starting cone and not want to stand in it. Biff was my last show horse that I had as my 13 and under horse, so he was a really special horse. He then has my very last memory of trotting down the middle for a lameness check at the World Show, and it was my hunter under saddle, and just feeling like I floated down. I stopped at the side of the pen to get ready to start the class, and I actually had somebody who I had no idea who she was look at me and said, "You looked like you were floating." And that was probably one of my favorite things of my show career that will always stick out to me.
And you know, anything particularly that you feel as you've taken this show career thing with you, is there anything in particular that you have learned, or traits or things that you have now taken on with you? Because you've got a big world in your world. You had twins 2 years ago,
Yep.
and you've got a nursing degree, and you're working on your advanced nursing degree.
Yep. I would say horses in general, it taught me to learn to be flexible, but it also taught me to juggle a lot. Not only are you juggling being a student while you're doing your hobby and your adventures, but then you're gone on the weekend and trying to manage still having practice still, because horses are practice. You're out at the barn 2 to 3 hours a night doing what you want, but then you have to come home and balance your grades. I remember you and I had the conversation that if I missed a day of school, I was writing a paper to my teacher explaining what I was doing and the outcomes and what it gave for me. So it held me to a little bit of a different accountability when it came to horses and school. It also held me to being your niece and you both being trainers and being into the horse industry as high level as you were. It helped me to understand what it meant to be an adult and to be accountable, and that you were always representing somebody even when you weren't planning to represent somebody. That I take into my job now as a nurse, because I might not have the brand of the hospital on my arm every time I walk in when I'm in surgery, but I'm representing that hospital. I'm representing that patient to that doctor. So I would say that's definitely something horses has taken for me.
And Brent, you've been kind of quiet and a little misty-eyed, actually. You know,
Yep.
What do you know? I mean, for us, she was our child that showed with us. What do you take as you think about it?
You'll always be the Uncle Bubba.
You know, I'm sitting here and one of the biggest memories I have is she come to us. I always called her my little slot machine. And she got to ride whatever I told her she had that day. And talking about Beth, actually it was before Beth, she come to me and said, Uncle Bubba, can I have one horse for the whole year? No. And, but, you know, watching her grow and thinking about some of the things she just said, flexibility, she didn't have a lot of choices sometimes, and we sold horses, and that's how we made money, and that was part of her job, is to make sure Julie and I had, you know, had extra cash, because we'd sell the horse out from underneath her, and sometimes we didn't treat her real fair. She had to suffer the consequences of being our child.
I learned how to throw a saddle up from a real young age.
Yep.
God love George for that one.
And, but, you know, being emotional, you know, we talked about the other day, some of the kids and some of the things they've done in life, and, you know, the woman she's grown to be has been pretty special, and I think certainly the horses have had a big part of it, and in what she's learned and how she learned to control situations or handle or deal with situations and things we'd put her in, and she had to figure her own way out when you were 6, 7, 8 years old.
I mean, the other memory always to think, and Tony Johnson still brings it up, the fact that she would give me a whole entire slinky cart if she could have my first show horse ever. God knowing I was never going to sell her George for a slinky cart. But that was always another funny one, always seeing her in her little cart of slinkies, and I was always wanting one, and we always gave me one, and we always had a new one.
Yep.
And, you know, I have two memories that pop to the top of my head. One I will always be jealous of.
It's just thinking.
And that, you know, we prepped Katie from a very early age. She was showing lead line from I think
before she's a year old, 8, 9 months old.
Joni walked next to her and held her on the
he was on
the
one
saddle.
side and she was on the other.
And we
By the time she was 8, not to interrupt, but before Katie was 8, she'd been reserve at the world twice, and 3rd at the Horse Congress in the walk track.
And I always felt jealous because, you know, me sitting in the stands, I knew where Katie was placing at these big shows, okay? And I knew where her composite was. And I was always jealous of the fact that you were always down there with her to have that moment when she got the award.
Yep.
And then my other really big memory is it was a 3-way thing. Her dad chipped in, Katie chipped in, and Brent and I chipped in, and we wanted her to have a 4-H project. She was not going to take one of her show horses to the fair. She was going to have a 4-H project. So we bought her this cute little 54-inch black and white Pinot pony. We called her Penny Pony. Her registered name was My College Fund. And Katie did the majority of the riding on it. And
I tried to help her lunch it.
I think that we will tell that story as soon as I finish mine. And this little pony was very, very special. She won multiple world champion buckles. She was kick butt at the fair. I mean, when these kids are bringing their quarter horses in there for the grand champion class, here comes Katie trotting with this little pony, and she kind of whooped on their butts, and she beat them all. And we took her to the state fair. And Penny Pony wasn't necessarily down at state fair, the nicest pony, but she was beautiful, stunningly gorgeous. And she'd won her halter class, and she's back in for grand champion, and they're calling from the bottom up, and Penny's just standing there. Well, finally they called my college fund and her number, and she had won the champion at the state fair, and there was a bunch of POA moms that were really PO'd when we were walking back from the winner's circle, that they couldn't believe that little Pinot pony had beat I'm certain they were national champion or world champion POAs, but this is probably a story worth telling about Uncle Bubba and lunging the pony.
You can take it away.
No, go right ahead.
So, Penny, God love her, she was not the greatest at lunging. We just had.
She hated to lunge.
Yeah.
Period. End of report.
And you could try all your darndest you wanted. Well, somebody sure was going to try his darndest to try to get her to lunge.
She had been bad at one of the classes at the Pinot World, and Brent felt she needed to be tired. So Brent goes leaving with her with the pony, lunge line, and a lead, with a whip. And Katie's sitting there, and just kind of, because she's mad because the pony had been bad, and she just kind of looks up at him and she says, she doesn't lunge. And he just goes stomping away. Okay, so now what's the return story?
I don't know who had more dirt on them at the end of that, the pony or you.
Yeah.
But he came back, and you could tell that pony had dumped him on the ground, and he had dirt all in the front of him. And once again, in her quiet little way, she just kind of looks at him, lets him walk past, and goes, "I told you she didn't lunge."
Uh-huh.
So, it was.
What advice did you give your dad about making your first pony lope?
I don't remember that one, to be honest.
You're probably a little young.
Yeah, with Cheyenne.
You asked your dad if you needed to get off your horse and show him how to use the damn whip.
You did.
The other memory I always remember, and I still to this day know places. How did I know where a horse show was how close was it going to be to a Cracker Barrel?
Cracker Barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And thankfully now where I live within 5 minutes of a Cracker Barrel.
Seriously. Wow.
Right off the interstate.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else? Like I said, we could sit here all day with you, Katie, and reminisce, because there's just little things throughout our house that are mementos of you, and we could, you have always been our child. Okay, there's one other thing we probably need to talk about now that I'm thinking about it. Whenever we would come home from the horse show,
Truck talk.
it's called truck talk. Okay, truck talk is what is our personal conversation. It stays between us. So we may be discussing something bad that happened at the horse show, something good that happened at the horse show. But Katie was always in the truck with us, and from a very early age, Katie learned that truck talk meant it stayed in the truck. What goes on in the truck stays in the truck, and she was wonderful as we would decompress and talk about our weekend. She really kept it quiet and didn't go out around and say, "Well, geez, do you know what Uncle Bubba and Aunt Julie said about you?" So
you didn't even tell your parents, I don't think. You were good. Yeah, truck talk was truck talk. Mm-hmm. Yeah, never left.
And we were very fortunate to have had the time that we've had with you. And is there anything thing that, you know, if you were to tell somebody why to let their child show horses, what would it be for?
I think I have an odd situation in itself because I was surrounded by a huge family, and my family has always been important to me. But not only did I have you two as my coaches and as my trainers and as my people that introduced and gave me the opportunity to do what I did, but I had a wonderful seamstress as an aunt who made all of my show clothes. I had an uncle and I don't even know how to call Al because I basically knew him as the second grandfather.
Uncle's dead, yeah.
Who were blacksmiths for me to make sure my horses were always sound. I would say maybe that would be the one thing. I had my parents that were still always making sure that I was a good student at home, but I was also at the events. I would say for a parent to allow a child to do this, you grow in a relationship with the family as that family is supportive. Because then my last aunt, my Aunt Jill, she was always my cheering section. She always made sure we had good little snacks and treats. And same with my grandparents who are no longer with us, but my other grandparents who are. I would say that's kind of the one thing that I'm now stepping back and having my girls and getting my girls around horses, livestock in general. You grow as a family for each other and support for each other. And then the network that you grow on top of that when you step into the show ring or you sit at the side of the ring and not just back at your stalls, but you're sitting there waiting for patterns. Those are probably the one thing I take away from horses the most is relationships and what they truly mean.
And as we've said before, it's not about the win. It's about what has happened back at the stall or sidelines or, you know, but...
Because, I mean, there's still people that I'll think about even now and then, and they'll pop up on my Facebook, and I'll be like, oh, I remember this with that person, or I remember that with that person. Most of them, honestly, are not the wins. They're the memories that... The other one, the Lansing show, for specific example, when we did the costume contest and we were all Wizard of Oz. Oh my Lord, all of us in our costumes.
Including Uncle Bubba.
Yep, the great and powerful Oz in his balloon. Those are the things that I remember, and those are the things I cherish the most.
I'm going to put you on the spot because I don't keep track as much as we probably should, but when we've talked to other girls, it's the relationships they still have today. That's from 25, 30 years ago. Are you in contact or many with any of the people you showed with them? Or
I
were
would
in
say
4-H or at the barn?
I would say there's one girl, she and I actually went on and did the collegiate stuff together. Her name was Cassie. She and I will catch up every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Might not be super frequent, but I do hear from her every now and then. Same with Mary Schoen. She was also a 4-H'er. Every now and then I'll see Avery Sinclair pop up on my Facebook. I don't reach out as often, but again, little memories that I have of her and Liren back at Fort Worth in those stalls. Yeah. First time I ever met them. So yeah, there's people that I'll see that I'll go back and see what they're doing.
Right.
But
good. Yeah.
And one other question, because Joni has said this. When you got out of horses for a while so you could do sports in high school, but then when you went to Purdue, you were kind of a little lost, and you wanted to do the equestrian team, the IHSA equestrian team. And Joni has made the comment that she feels like if you hadn't found that team and that group of people that had similar values to you with you growing up, that your longevity at Purdue may have been not as good, but that grounded you. Is that any truth to that?
I wouldn't say the team in an aspect grounded me. I had some very great teammates, a couple that I really still enjoyed. I think the showing aspect helped find my place, but the other one that kind of helped, and it's kind of funny because it is something you and Aunt Joni and I share, the sorority life. also helped kind of ground me in finding.
Oh, you mean when Joni and I told you to
Yes.
rush,
Yes.
and you were like, no, you didn't need to, and then you're lost, and I'm calling
Yes.
as an alumni to see when they're doing the
Yes.
next rush system. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's all right. We were never always right, but it's all right. So, but you know, you did well in the college equestrian team.
Yeah.
Not only just showing, but you took ownership in so many different management type roles in that, and made sure that it worked. Not that that's a surprise, because you always were the one that kept track of everything. So, well, I don't think I have anything else. I mean, you know, we could sit here for hours with Katie, because it's been years of wonderful memories with her. So,
and for those that don't know, you guys are my godparents. So there's the fun one.
Yep.
And if you see Uncle Bubba at a horse show, please make sure he's got some Oreos.
To go with my crown.
But it is, you know, having shared your horse show experience with you has been you've seen it, emotional experience for Brent and I. And so we are very glad to sit down, and I hope that people, and I know they will, they'll be, oh, we remember Katie. And, you know, they'll take a little bit of your advice as to what it can do in the future and go on. But, you know, we'll see. There's 2 other little girls coming up, so.
Lord help us all.
Right, well, thanks for spending the afternoon with us. This one may have gone a little longer than normal, and we like that you appreciate spending these Barn Banter episodes with us. Hope that you will continue to subscribe to us on YouTube, and there's much to happen in this future journey. Thanks.
Thank you.